Can you allow your wife ruin your relationship with your siblings? Hello guys, it's another house chores and story time with happiness in nature. Now this is my real life story. One of my uncles from my mother's side of the family, this particular uncle is the only uncle both from my mother's side and my father's side that I am particularly close to. I am close to this uncle to the extent that even as a child, even as a teenager, I would go to him with my personal problems that I can't even tell my mother. After my uncle got married, I decided to build this same relationship I have with him. At that time, I was not living with them, but I would practically go to their house almost every day to assist the wife with house chores, just like I used to do when my uncle was single. I would go to his house because he normally goes for outside work. So I would go to his house, clean his house, wash his clothes, make meals for him. So even when he got married, I would always go to his house to assist his wife with house chores, because at that time, my auntie was pregnant. Sometime along the line, I began to notice that my auntie was becoming very obsessed with my uncle. She was obsessed to the extent that she does not allow any female to speak with him. It even got to a point that she ended up quarreling with every single female that was living in their compound with them, because if you as a single lady greet her husband, she instantly believed that you want to snatch her husband from her. I clearly remember my mother having to settle quarrels between these couples every single time, because the wife went to fight a female friend or the wife went to fight a female customer that the husband was working with. Because of my auntie's constant fight and quarrel with her co-tenants, their landlord gave them quick notice and they had to move to another compound. At some point, my uncle even had to change the work he was doing, because at that time he was a driver and he mostly goes to the market to help market women to carry their goods after they have bought goods from the market. And every single time his wife would end up quarreling with those customers, so he had to change his line of work. While all this was going on, we were in good terms with my auntie. Even my mother was in good terms with her, because most time she and her children will come and sleep over at our place anytime her husband goes for outside work. She will sleep over at our place, and like we are living like a one big family. We were living in peace. But all of a sudden, this woman woke up one morning and started accusing my younger sister of sleeping with her husband. I'm telling you, this woman did not come to the house to accuse my sister of this. She waited, because we all attend the same church. After church service, we were having a youth meeting. Both my sister, we were in a youth meeting. This woman just came there in the midst of everybody and started shouting that my sister should leave her husband for her, that she don't want to be dragging her husband with my sister. At that point, I was both ashamed, confused, and so scared. Like, make this make sense? Because at that point, if there was anybody that should be accused, it should be me, because I was even more closer to that my uncle more than my younger sister. Guys, after that incident that day, I had to detach myself from my auntie and my uncle. I stopped going to their house entirely. I even had to block my uncle from calling me, because I don't want someone to come and accuse me of snatching her husband. Now, 2 years later, a month before the day my husband came to pay my bride price, my mother told me that it will not be right that I will get married and I will not inform my uncle. I told my mother that if she wants to go and tell him, that she can go and tell him, but I will not be having any form of communication with him, because I don't want my auntie's problem. Then one fateful Sunday, I was in church after church program. I think we had a meeting or something. Don't judge me, guys. I am a church girl, so I stay longer in church after church dismissal. But I was in church that Sunday when someone ran and came to call me from the church that my auntie is fighting my mother in the street. Immediately I ran to the scene. I saw this woman with her hands on my mother's clothes. Do you know the part that pained me the most is the fact that this woman is just a few years older than me. Like she's about 3 or 4 years older than me, and I am my mother's 6th child. That is, I have 5 people that are older than me in my family. That is to show you that my mother is very way older than her. Even my eldest sister, that is the other of our family, is older than this lady in question. Not only was this woman fighting my mother, she was screaming on top of her voice for everybody that has ear to hear that my mother is sleeping with her husband. Like, I was so angry that I rushed to her and we both got into a serious fight. Like, I had her on the floor and I was dealing with her seriously. At this point, both my mother and my uncle was trying to separate the both of us, but due to the fact I already harbored grudges against her for the fact that she destroyed the relationship we had with my uncle, like with that grudge, with that pain and everything, I was just hitting her without listening to anybody. Then the next thing I knew, my uncle started hitting me. like he was beating me. And when my uncle was hitting me, my mother stood between myself and my uncle and began to slap my uncle. At this point, I started to cry because ever since I know this my uncle, he has never raised his hands on me. And like he and my mother has never ever had an argument, not to talk more of a fight. At this point, people had gathered and I just held my mother's hand and I was crying and I was constantly telling her, don't hit uncle, don't hit him. Don't hit him. I was just crying and I was screaming, don't hit him. I was saying it in our language. I was saying, don't hit him, don't hit uncle. And I cited this woman and she was happily laughing. Like I'm telling you, this woman was laughing. She was like, it has happened. Yes, this is how I want it. And she was laughing. And then I turned and I looked at my uncle and I saw tears in his eyes. And guys, I tell you, that was the last day I saw my uncle face to face. I saw him with tears in his eyes. And with that tears, he just dragged his wife out of that place. And as I'm speaking to you till today, that was the last day I saw my uncle. I later got to know from my mother that the reason for the altercation was because my mother went to invite my uncle to my traditional marriage. All this happened 5 years ago. Until now, I still haven't spoken with my uncle because I just do not have the strength for the wife's problem.